The world rushes past. Sirens wail in the distance, a constant soundtrack to the city's hum. Inside, the air feels thick, charged with an unseen energy. You sit at your desk, the glow of the monitor reflecting in your tired eyes. Outside, the rain has started, each drop a tiny tap against the glass, mirroring the restless rhythm in your chest. You feel it, don't you? That knot of anxiety tightening, a familiar, unwelcome guest. Maybe it's a fear of failure, a worry about what someone else thinks, or a gnawing doubt about your own worth. It's easy to get swept away by these currents, to let them dictate your every move, your every thought. It's like being on a ship in a storm. The waves crash over the deck, the wind howls, and you might grip the railing, convinced the whole vessel is about to capsize. In those moments, the sheer force of the elements can feel overwhelming, all-consuming. You might find yourself shouting into the wind, pleading for it to stop, for the waves to calm. And maybe, just maybe, a part of you believes that if you just feel the fear intensely enough, if you surrender to the panic, something will shift. It's a powerful, primal urge to react to what's happening *to you. But what if I told you that storm, that raging sea, is happening entirely within you? The waves aren't real in the way you're experiencing them. They are projections, interpretations, echoes of past experiences and future anxieties. The wind is the narrative you're telling yourself, and the ship, that's you, your core being, designed to navigate these internal tempests. It can feel jarring, even wrong, to consider this. Our immediate, visceral reaction is to trust exactly what we feel. When you feel intensely sad, you are sad. When you feel angry, you are angry. The feeling is reality. This is where the bedrock of Stoic philosophy begins to reveal itself, not as a cold, unfeeling doctrine, but as a radical act of self-liberation. It starts with a fundamental, often counterintuitive, understanding: you are not your feelings. This is not to say your feelings are insignificant or that you should suppress them. Rather, it's about recognizing their ephemeral nature, their origin, and your capacity to choose how you respond to them. Think of your feelings as weather patterns. On any given day, it might be sunny, cloudy, rainy, or stormy. You can't control the weather, but you don't become the weather. You simply experience it, perhaps dress appropriately, and carry on with your day. Imagine you're walking through a forest. The path is clear, but suddenly you encounter a thick patch of fog. You can't see very far ahead. Your initial reaction might be to stop, to feel uneasy, perhaps even a bit scared about what might be hidden in the mist. Your heart rate might increase. You might feel a tightness in your throat. This is the feeling arising. It's a natural, biological response to uncertainty. But then, you remember how to navigate, how to proceed even without perfect visibility. You might reach out, feel the surrounding trees, listen to the sounds around you, and take a step forward, trusting your ability to find your way. The fog is there, yes, but you are not the fog. This distinction is crucial. It's the difference between being a leaf tossed about by the wind and being the solid ground from which the tree grows. Our modern world constantly bombards us with messages that tell us to embrace and indulge every feeling. Feel your feelings, they say, and while there's value in acknowledging them, there's immense danger in allowing them to define us or dictate our actions. When you believe you * are your anger, your fear, or your sadness, you grant those emotions absolute power over your life. You become a puppet, dancing to the tune of your internal storms. The Stoics, however, recognized that our judgments about events and our interpretations of our internal states are what truly bind us. It's not the event itself that causes distress, but our opinion of it. Similarly, it's not the raw sensation of fear or sadness that cripples us, but the story we weave around it, the conclusion that this feeling is a definitive statement about who we are and what our future holds. This requires a profound level of introspection, a willingness to look beyond the immediate emotional impact and question the underlying narrative. Think about a moment you felt intense embarrassment. Perhaps you tripped in public or said something foolish. The immediate flush of heat, the urge to disappear, This is the feeling. But what made it truly unbearable was not just the physical sensation, but your judgment. The thought, everyone thinks I'm an idiot, or this will ruin my reputation. It's the meaning you assign to the feeling that amplifies it. The Stoic practice is to begin to disentangle the feeling from the judgment. Acknowledge the embarrassment, yes, but then challenge the catastrophic thoughts that accompany it. Remind yourself that this is temporary, that most people are more concerned with themselves, and that you are more than this single awkward moment. This isn't about becoming a robot. It's about cultivating a deeper, more resilient self that can observe its own emotional landscape without being consumed by it. It's about understanding that while you can't always control the arrival of emotions, you can absolutely choose how you greet them, how you engage with them, and whether you allow them to become the captain of your soul. The initial step in this journey is recognizing that the storm outside your window is merely a reflection of the storms that can brew within, and that the true power lies not in stopping the rain, but in building a sturdy shelter. To truly grasp how to do this, we must understand that strength doesn't come from avoiding struggle, but from actively choosing it. And that brings us to the principle that discipline isn't some innate quality, but a conscious, repeated decision. The alarm blares at 5 a.m. The world outside is still shrouded in darkness, the temperature a crisp, unwelcome chill. Your bed, warm and inviting, whispers promises of just a few more minutes of oblivion. Every fiber of your being screams, "Stay put." This is the moment of truth, the subtle battlefield where so many dreams wither. You feel the gravitational pull of comfort, the sheer inertia of staying where you are. It's an intensely physical sensation, a resistance in your muscles, a fog in your mind that whispers, "You don't have to, not today." And for a long time, maybe you didn't. You'd hit snooze, you'd rationalize. "I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow. It doesn't really matter that much." These are the quiet betrayals that chip away at our resolve. It's easy to feel like discipline is something you're either born with or you're not. You see someone effortlessly waking early, working out, sticking to their goals, and you think, they're just naturally disciplined. It's demotivating. It's the ultimate excuse, a perfectly crafted shield against the discomfort of trying and failing. But what if that's not the whole story? What if discipline isn't a gift bestowed upon a chosen few? This is the second pillar of Stoic practice, understanding that discipline is not a fixed trait, like eye color or height. It's not something you find within yourself and then wield. Instead, it's a continuous, active decision. It's a choice you make again and again in the face of comfort and resistance. It's the deliberate act of doing what you know you should do, even when every instinct screams otherwise. That 5 a.m. alarm, it's not asking you to be a disciplined person. It's presenting you with an opportunity to decide to act in a disciplined way. Consider a blacksmith. They don't just find a perfectly shaped sword lying around. They take raw, unyielding metal, heat it, hammer it, shape it, temper it. It's a process of intense effort, repetition, and a willingness to endure the strain and the heat. The resulting sword is not a natural occurrence. It's the product of deliberate, repeated actions. Discipline is much the same. It's the act of forging your character, piece by piece, through consistent, often difficult choices. Each time you choose to get up, to do the hard work, to resist the easy temptation, you are hammering, shaping, and tempering your will. This perspective shifts the burden entirely. Instead of feeling defeated because you aren't disciplined, you can feel empowered because you have the capacity to choose discipline in any given moment. It's not about waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. Discipline is the engine that runs even when motivation has packed its bags and left. It's the understanding that the doing precedes the feeling like doing. The act of waking up and putting on your workout clothes, even when you feel zero desire, creates the momentum that can lead to feeling energized later. The feeling often follows the action, not the other way around. Think of the great performers you admire, the artists, the athletes, the thinkers? Do you think they woke up every day feeling inspired and ready to create? Or do you think they had a schedule, a commitment, and the grit to show up and do the work, even on days when they felt drained or uninspired? The latter is far more likely. They understood that the creative flow, the peak performance, wasn't something to wait for, but something to build towards through consistent, disciplined effort. They chose the work. They made the decision. This decision-making process can feel small, almost insignificant in the moment. It's easy to dismiss the choice to read a book for 30 minutes instead of scrolling through social media. But these small, seemingly insignificant decisions accumulate. They build a habit. They strengthen the muscle of your will. And over time, these consistent choices become the very foundation of your character. You don't achieve a goal overnight. You achieve it through a series of deliberate daily choices that move you in that direction. The Stoics called this assent, the mental act of agreeing with a proposition or a demand. When your alarm rings, your mind has a demand placed upon it. Get up. Your assent is your decision to agree with that demand and act accordingly. It's a powerful concept because it highlights that the battle is won or lost in your mind before you even physically move. When you routinely deny assent to the easy path, when you consistently choose the harder, more purposeful action, you are actively building your capacity for discipline. It's a practice, not a destination. There will be days, many days, when the temptation to revert feels overwhelming. You might slip, you might hit snooze, you might opt for the easy route. The Stoic approach isn't about achieving a state of perpetual perfection. It's about recognizing the slip, not letting it derail you, and then making the next right decision, the next deliberate choice. The important thing isn't that you never fall, but that you choose to get back up every single time. The true power lies in that moment of conscious choice, the moment you decide, I will do this, regardless of how you feel. Understanding this fundamental truth about discipline also sheds light on what we actually have control over in our lives. Because when you're making those tough choices, it's crucial to remember what's truly within your grasp. And that's what we'll explore next, the unwavering principle that you don't control results, only your own choices. The sweat drips down your brow, your muscles burn, screaming for release. You're in the final stretch of the race, legs pumping, lungs heaving. Victory is tantalizingly close, but so is the potential for collapse. You can feel the effort, the sheer output you're pouring into this moment. But as you glance to your side, you see another runner pushing with a similar intensity, perhaps even a little faster. There's a pang of anxiety, a flicker of doubt. Their stride, their pace, these are things you cannot directly influence. You can only control your own. This is the core idea, the radical clarity that Stoicism offers, the fundamental distinction between what is within our power and what is not. We spend an enormous amount of energy wrestling with things outside our control. We worry about the outcome of a job interview, the opinion of a boss, the weather on a planned outing, the return on an investment, or even the actions of loved ones. We tie our happiness, our validation, and our sense of self-worth to these external outcomes. And because they are, by definition, outside our direct command, this leads to a perpetual cycle of anxiety, frustration, and disappointment. Think of planting a garden. You can choose the seeds, prepare the soil, water diligently, and protect it from pests. You can make all the right choices in terms of effort and care. But you cannot control the amount of rainfall, the intensity of the sun, or whether a sudden frost might damage the young sprouts. The asterisk results, the abundance of your harvest, the perfect bloom, these depend on a multitude of factors beyond your direct influence. Yet many people base their entire satisfaction on the harvest, becoming despondent if it's less than expected, even if they did everything right in their power. The Stoics identified this clearly. They called the things within our control preferred indifference, things like our judgments, our desires, our aversions, and our actions. These are the very substance of our internal lives, the raw material of our character. The The things outside our control, they termed dispreferred indifference, health, wealth, reputation, the actions of others, outcomes of endeavors. These are external circumstances. The crucial insight isn't that these external things are bad, but that our asterisk attachment to them, our asterisk reliance on them for our well-being, is the source of our suffering. This isn't an invitation to apathy or a cue to stop trying. Quite the opposite. It's an invitation to invest your energy precisely where it will have the most impact, in your own choices, your own efforts, your own character. When you focus solely on the result, you're essentially gambling. You're placing your well-being on the whims of fate. But when you focus on the asterisk quality of your choice and effort, you become the master of your own fate, at least in the most meaningful sense. You can control how diligent you are, how honest you are, how courageous you are. You can control your attitude. You can control your response. Imagine you're learning a new skill, like playing the guitar. You practice for hours each day. Your fingers are sore, your progress feels slow. You might look at a virtuoso and feel discouraged because their playing is so far beyond yours. The asterisk result of their mastery is something you don't yet possess. But what you asterisk can control is the decision to pick up the guitar today, the decision to practice that tricky chord progression with focus, the decision to learn that new song. Your well-being and your sense of accomplishment should come from the quality of your practice, from the choice to engage in the process, not solely from whether you've achieved a certain level of performance yet. This principle liberates you from the tyranny of external validation. If your goal is to be praised by others, you are at the mercy of their opinions. Those opinions are not within your control. But if your goal is to act with integrity, to communicate clearly and kindly, then you have complete control over that. You can choose to speak truthfully, even if it's not popular. You can choose to act with compassion, even if it's not reciprocated. These are your choices, and their value is inherent in the choosing, not in the external reward. It's a subtle but profound shift. When you understand that your ultimate success is measured by the quality of your choices, then every moment becomes an opportunity to succeed. A difficult conversation isn't a risky endeavor dependent on the other person's reaction. It's an opportunity to choose to speak your truth with courage and respect. A challenging project isn't a test of whether you'll achieve a perfect outcome. It's a test of your dedication, your problem-solving skills, and your perseverance. This focus on choice is what allows us to approach life with a sense of agency, even in the face of adversity. We cannot control the hand we are dealt, but we can absolutely control how we play it. This means that even when faced with setbacks, failures, or unfair circumstances, we still have the power to choose our response. We can choose to learn from the experience, to adapt, to move forward with resilience, or we can choose to be bitter, to complain, and to be paralyzed by what has happened. The Stoic path is to recognize this power and to wield it with intention. It's a constant practice of differentiating between the action you take and the world's reaction to it. And recognizing this fundamental truth about control leads us to examine a common obstacle that prevents us from even starting: procrastination. Because often, the real reason we delay is not a lack of time, but a deeper, more uncomfortable truth. The cursor blinks. A stark white document stares back, a silent accusation. The task looms, a monstrous, shapeless entity in your mind. You know what needs to be done, but the thought of starting feels like picking up a burning piece of metal. So what do? You check your email, you scroll through social media, you make a cup of coffee, then another. You convince yourself that you need to prepare, that you're not in the right headspace yet. You tell yourself you work better under pressure, a thinly veiled lie designed to postpone the inevitable discomfort. This is the insidious grip of procrastination. It feels like laziness, doesn't it? A simple lack of willpower. But peel back the layers, and you often find something far more profound and less flattering: fear. Procrastination, at its root, is often an act of cowardice. It's the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of not being good enough, or even the fear of success and the demands it might bring. That blank document isn't just a page, it's a potential judgment. It's a stage where your inadequacy might be revealed. Think about it. When you're assigned a task you're confident about, something you know you can do well, do you procrastinate? Rarely, the tasks we put off are the ones where the stakes feel high, where the outcome is uncertain, and where our ego feels exposed. We delay the start because we're afraid of the finish. We're afraid of what the finished product might say about us, or what it might asterisk, not asterisk say. This is where the Stoic perspective offers a bracing honesty. They wouldn't see this as a motivational problem. They'd see it as a failure of courage. They would ask, what are you truly asterisk afraid of? Are you afraid of the work itself being difficult, or are you afraid of the asterisk implications if the work isn't perfect? If you believe your worth is tied to your output, then any task becomes a potential referendum on your value. To avoid that verdict, you avoid the task. Consider the athlete warming up before a competition. They perform stretches, light jogs, maybe some practice shots. This isn't just about warming up their muscles, it's about building the confidence to perform under pressure. Procrastinators, on the other hand, often engage in busy work that feels productive but doesn't address the core task. It's a distraction, a way to avoid the real challenge. It's like a boxer spending an hour meticulously tying their shoelaces instead of sparring. The fear of failure is a powerful paralyzer. We tell ourselves, if I don't try, I can't fail. This is a logically flawed but emotionally compelling thought. It offers a false sense of safety, but it comes at a steep price, the guaranteed failure of not achieving anything at all. True courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in spite of it. It's recognizing the fear, acknowledging it, and then proceeding with the task anyway. This is why Stoics often advocated for confronting discomfort directly. They understood that avoiding discomfort only magnifies it. The more you delay a difficult task, the larger and more menacing it becomes in your imagination. The act of starting, even for just a few minutes, begins to dismantle that fear. It proves that the monster isn't as powerful as you'd built it up to be. The first step is often the hardest because it involves directly confronting the fear you've been running from. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. When it comes to procrastination, the view we take of the task is often worse than the task itself. We imagine the difficulties, the potential criticisms, the effort involved in excruciating detail, all while avoiding the actual engagement. This mental rehearsal of doom is far more taxing than the act of doing the work. The practice, then, is to face the fear head-on. When that blank document appears, when the daunting task is presented, ask yourself, what is the worst that can realistically happen if I start this now? And then, what can I do asterisk right now to take the first step? It might be writing a single sentence, outlining one section, or making one phone call. The goal is not immediate perfection, but immediate action. By choosing to act, by confronting the fear of imperfection or judgment directly, you are practicing courage. You are proving to yourself that you are not defined or controlled by your fear of the outcome. This is a critical step towards self-mastery. The tasks we put off are often the ones that are most important for our growth. By procrastinating, we deny ourselves opportunities to learn, to improve, and to build confidence. We are, in essence, letting our fear of what asterisk might asterisk happen prevent us from making anything happen at all. And this avoidance, this fear-based inaction, has a profound impact on who we become, shaping us through the things we endure or fail to endure. To truly build resilience, we need to understand that what doesn't break us can, in fact, make us. This leads us to consider the transformative power of what we overcome. The cold seeps into your bones. Every muscle aches, a constant thrumming reminder of the effort expended. You're exhausted, pushing against the limits of your physical and mental endurance. Doubt whispers insidious suggestions, give up, it's not worth it, you can't do this. These are the moments that define us, the crucibles where our character is forged, not by comfort, but by the deliberate acceptance of hardship. It's in these raw, unvarnished struggles that we discover our true strength. The Stoics understood this intimately. They didn't shy away from hardship. They actively sought it out in controlled doses as a form of training. Think of a wrestler who doesn't just practice against one opponent, but against many, varying their styles and strengths. This preparation makes them more adaptable, more resilient, better equipped to handle unexpected challenges in the arena. Similarly, voluntarily enduring difficulties, whether it's a cold shower on a freezing morning, a period of fasting, or simply choosing to speak up when it's uncomfortable, is a way of preparing for the inevitable larger storms of life. It's a common human inclination to seek comfort, to avoid pain, and to strive for a life free from struggle. We are conditioned to see hardship as something to be overcome and then forgotten, a problem to be solved and put behind us. But true growth, the kind that builds unshakable resilience, doesn't come from avoiding difficult experiences. It comes from how we engage with them, from what we learn and internalize through them. Consider the story of the oak tree. It doesn't grow strong in calm, predictable weather. It grows strong when it has to withstand fierce winds, driving rain, and the weight of snow. Each storm it weathers, each challenge it overcomes, bends and strengthens its trunk and roots. It doesn't wish the storms away. It becomes the tree it is because of them. We are no different. The obstacles we face, the frustrations we navigate, the moments of discomfort we endure, these are the forces that shape our character, temper our will, and deepen our resilience. This isn't about masochism or seeking out unnecessary suffering. It's about recognizing that life inherently involves challenges and that our response to these challenges is what matters most. When you face a difficult situation and choose to persevere, to find solutions, to maintain your composure and your principles, you are not just getting through it. You are actively building a stronger, more capable version of yourself. You are proving to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. This can be particularly potent when applied to our minds. We often recoil from unpleasant thoughts or emotions. If we feel anxious, we try to distract ourselves. If we feel bored, we seek stimulation. But by constantly avoiding these internal discomforts, we inadvertently weaken our ability to tolerate them when they arise unavoidably. The Stoic practice of premeditation of evils, contemplating potential difficulties not to dwell on them, but to mentally prepare for them, is a way of inoculating yourself against their power. By thinking about what might go wrong and how you might respond virtuously, you lessen the shock and impact when those difficult situations actually occur. The act of enduring builds a profound sense of self-efficacy. It's the deep-seated belief in your own capacity to handle whatever life throws your way. This belief isn't born from easy successes, but from the hard-fought victories over adversity. When you look back on a challenge you've overcome, it's not just the accomplishment you remember, but the grit, the determination, the resilience you exhibited. That memory becomes a powerful resource for facing future challenges. Think of someone who has faced significant loss or illness. Their experience is undeniably painful, but if they approach it with a spirit of endurance and a commitment to understanding, they often emerge with a deeper wisdom, a greater appreciation for life, and a profound inner strength that is often absent in those who have lived more sheltered lives. They have endured, and in enduring, they have become more. This is not to romanticize suffering, but to affirm the human capacity to grow through it. It's about recognizing that the friction, the resistance you encounter, both externally and internally, is not an enemy to be avoided, but an opportunity to become stronger. Every time you choose to push through discomfort, to face a fear, or to persevere when you want to quit, you are adding another layer to your inner fortitude. You are becoming, through your own voluntary engagement with difficulty, the person you are capable of being. Understanding this process of becoming through endurance naturally leads to an examination of how we often sabotage our own strength through self-indulgence. And that brings us to the corrosive nature of self-pity. The rain continues to fall, a relentless rhythm against the windowpane. You're hunched over, wrapped in a blanket, the weight of the world pressing down. Your troubles feel unique, immense, a burden no one else could possibly comprehend. A quiet voice in your head whispers, "It's not fair. Why me? I can't handle this." It's a seductive narrative, one that offers a perverse kind of comfort, a justification for inaction, and a shield against responsibility. This is the slippery slope of self-pity. Self-pity is a seductive poison. It offers an easy out, a way to abdicate responsibility for your own life and your own reactions. When you fall into self-pity, you see yourself as a victim. The world is the perpetrator, and your suffering is a consequence of external forces beyond your control. This perspective, while momentarily shielding you from the harsh realities of accountability, is ultimately a profound trap. It convinces you that you are powerless, that your circumstances are immutable, and that there is no path forward except to continue suffering. The Stoics were acutely aware of this tendency. They saw self-pity as a failure of reason, a deviation from the path of virtue and resilience. They would argue that while external events can be unfortunate, it is our asterisk judgment of those events and our subsequent emotional response that truly determines our suffering. When you feel sorry for yourself, you are not accurately assessing your situation. You are distorting reality through the lens of victimhood. Think of someone who is genuinely ill. They experience physical pain, discomfort, and limitations. This is a difficult external reality, but someone wallowing in self-pity might focus on how unfair it is, how their life is so much harder than everyone else's, how they are being unjustly burdened. This added layer of self-pity doesn't alleviate the physical discomfort. It compounds it with emotional suffering and a sense of helplessness. It's like adding insult to injury, but the insult is entirely self-inflicted. The core of the self-pity trap is its focus on what is lacking or what has been taken away. It's a backward-looking, complaint-driven state. It dwells on perceived injustices and amplifies feelings of powerlessness. The Stoic counter to this is to shift focus from what is outside your control and lamentable to what is within your control and actionable. Even in the most dire circumstances, there are always choices to be made, attitudes to adopt, and small steps to take. For example, someone who loses their job might fall into self-pity, focusing on the unfairness of the situation, the lack of support, the bleak job market. This leads to despair, or they could acknowledge the setback, feel the natural disappointment, and then pivot to focusing on what they can control, updating their resume, networking, learning a new skill, or reassessing their career goals. The latter approach, while not necessarily easier in terms of immediate effort, is liberating because it restores a sense of agency. It moves from "woe is me" to "what can I do?" This shift is not about denying the reality of difficulty or pain. It's about refusing to let those external circumstances define your internal state or your capacity for action. It's about understanding that your identity and your worth are not diminished by misfortune. You are not your circumstances. You are the one who responds to them. The Stoic ideal is not to be immune to suffering, but to meet it with reason, virtue, and a commitment to what is good and right. Self-pity is the antithesis of this. It leads to a paralysis of the will, a resignation to a miserable state. It's a self-imposed prison sentence, and the keys to escape are always within reach, if only you can recognize the trap for what it is. When you catch yourself slipping into self-pity, try to ask, what specific action can I take right now, however small, that moves me forward? What virtue can I practice in this moment? Perhaps courage, temperance, justice, or wisdom. By redirecting your energy from lamentation to action, you begin to dismantle the foundation of self-pity and rebuild a sense of competence and self-efficacy. You move from being a victim of your feelings to being the master of your responses. Recognizing the unproductive nature of self-pity and understanding that true progress comes from engagement naturally leads us to the power of taking concrete steps. Because clarity is not found in contemplation alone, but in the very act of doing. The options swirl in your mind like a chaotic storm. Should you take the promotion or stay put? Is it time to move to a new city, or should you recommit to your current life? The questions churn, each possibility weighed against a dozen uncertainties, 100 potential scenarios. You spend days, weeks, even months, dissecting every angle, creating elaborate pros and cons lists, seeking advice from everyone you know, yet feeling no closer to a decision. The weight of indecision can be crushing, leading to analysis paralysis, where the fear of making the wrong choice prevents any choice at all. And then, sometimes, seemingly out of nowhere, a moment of action occurs. Perhaps a deadline forces your hand, or an unexpected event presents a clear, albeit imperfect, path. You take a step, commit to a direction, and suddenly the fog begins to lift. The swirling uncertainties begin to resolve, not because you've found all the answers, but because you've begun to move. This is the potent truth that action brings clarity. The Stoics championed action. They understood that the mind, left to its own devices, can become a labyrinth of endless contemplation, forever caught in the loops of hypothetical outcomes and self-doubt. While reasoned deliberation has its place, it must eventually give way to decisive action. It is through doing, through engaging with the world and testing our ideas, that we gain true understanding. Think of a sailor navigating treacherous waters. They have charts, they have experience, but the sea itself is unpredictable. They cannot simply sit in the harbor and think about sailing. They must hoist the sails, feel the wind, and steer the ship. It's in the act of sailing, adjusting the course, managing the sails, responding to the waves, that they learn the nuances of the voyage, that they truly understand the conditions, and that they make progress. Procrastination, the endless contemplation without action, is like a ship that never leaves the harbor, forever uncertain of its destination or its seaworthiness. This principle is particularly powerful when dealing with fear and uncertainty. Our minds often conjure up far worse scenarios than reality will deliver, especially when we remain passive. The act of taking even a small step towards a goal or a difficult task reduces the perceived threat. It transforms an abstract fear into a concrete challenge that can be addressed. When you commit to starting a project that intimidates you, the act of opening the relevant files, writing the first sentence, or making the initial contact begins to demystify the task. It anchors you in the present reality and redirects your energy from anxious anticipation to productive engagement. The Stoics would say that your true understanding of a situation comes not from solely thinking about it, but from engaging with it. Your beliefs and judgments are tested and refined through action. If you believe you are capable of something, the only way to truly know is to attempt it. If you believe a certain approach will work, the only way to confirm that is to implement it. This active testing provides real feedback, rather than the purely speculative feedback our minds often generate. This is the clarity that action provides, a clarity grounded in experience, not just imagination. This doesn't imply a reckless leap into the unknown. Rational assessment and planning are important, but at a certain point, further deliberation becomes counterproductive. It's the point where you have enough information to begin, and the desire to know more is simply a manifestation of fear. The Stoic ideal is to act with virtue and reason, and to accept the outcome that follows. The clarity comes from the commitment to that action and the subsequent opportunities to learn and adapt based on the results. When you are paralyzed by decision, ask yourself, what is the smallest possible action I can take right now that moves me even slightly in a useful direction? It might be sending one email, making one phone call, reading one page of a relevant book, or performing one small part of a larger task. These small, deliberate actions build momentum. They create a ripple effect that can break the inertia of indecision and bring focus to the forefront. By acting, you are not just doing. You are learning, you are adapting, and you are gaining true clarity on your path forward. This clarity, born from doing, sets the stage for understanding that even the path of mastery begins with something seemingly simple, a principle that often gets overlooked in our rush for advanced techniques. The seasoned martial artist, movements fluid and precise, seems to effortlessly execute a complex kata. The yogi bends into a posture that defies gravity, a picture of serene control. We see the peak, the flawless execution, and we often assume it's the result of innate talent or brilliant intuition. We overlook the thousands of hours of repetitive practice, the strict adherence to instruction, the humble beginnings. Mastery in any field does not begin with innovation or independent thought. It begins with obedience. This might sound counterintuitive, even antithetical to the idea of personal growth. We live in a culture that often celebrates the rebel, the innovator, the one who breaks the mold. And indeed, those qualities have their place, but they are built upon a foundation that is often forged through diligent, unquestioning adherence to established principles and instruction. The Stoics understood this deeply. They recognized that to gain wisdom, to master oneself, one must first be willing to learn from those who have gone before, to follow the guidance of a teacher or a philosophy with diligence. Consider the apprentice craftsman. They don't start by designing their own furniture. They start by learning to prepare the wood, to use the tools correctly, to follow the exact specifications of their mentor. They obey the instructions not because they fully grasp the ultimate purpose of each minute step, but because they trust the experience of the master. It is through this disciplined obedience that they internalize the fundamental techniques and principles. Only when these basics are deeply ingrained can they begin to innovate and develop their own unique style. This applies directly to self-mastery. The Stoic philosophy itself is a system of principles, practices, and insights developed over centuries by wise thinkers. To become proficient in Stoicism, one doesn't start by reinterpreting Marcus Aurelius or devising their own ethical frameworks. One starts by studying the core texts, understanding the fundamental concepts like the dichotomy of control, the importance of virtue, and the practice of reason, and then diligently applying them to one's life. This is obedience to the philosophy. It's about following the instructions even when they seem simple, even when they feel tedious, even when you believe you already understand them. The true learning happens in the consistent application, in the repeated practice of paying attention, of choosing virtue, of accepting what you cannot change. It's about learning to control your thoughts, your reactions, your desires, not by inventing new methods, but by diligently practicing the methods that have proven effective. When we encounter a new skill, whether it's learning a language, mastering a musical instrument, or even adopting Stoic principles, the initial phase is often about imitation and obedience. We follow the rules, mimic the patterns, and internalize the instructions until they become second nature. The desire to jump ahead, to skip the foundational steps, is a common pitfall. But this eagerness to innovate before one has truly mastered the fundamentals is a sure path to superficial understanding, not true expertise. Think of a doctor. They spend years obediently studying anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, and practicing procedures under supervision. Only after this rigorous period of obedience and mastery of established knowledge can they begin to diagnose and treat patients with their own judgment and innovation. They owe their effectiveness to the foundation of knowledge they were obediently built. The Stoics understood that life itself is a practice, and to practice life well, to live virtuously and wisely, requires learning from those who have already dedicated themselves to understanding these principles. This involves a willingness to be a student, to listen, to absorb, and to follow instructions diligently. It requires humility to acknowledge that others may have insights you haven't yet discovered. This emphasis on obedience is not about blind subservience. It's about a wise recognition of expertise and a commitment to learning the proven path. It is through this diligent, often unglamorous, work of following instruction that the groundwork is laid for true autonomy and innovative thinking later on. You learn the rules so well that you can then decide when and how to bend them or even break them with wisdom. This diligent adherence to the fundamentals ultimately prepares us to make a crucial choice with far-reaching consequences. The decision to embrace difficulty not as an inconvenience, but as a deliberate path. The air is thin, the incline steep. Your legs burn, your lungs gasp for air. Every instinct screams to stop, to turn back to the easier trail below. But you press on, deliberately choosing the more arduous ascent. Why? Because you understand that the greatest rewards, the most profound growth, often lie not in the comfortable valley, but on the challenging peak. In life, as in hiking, the harder path, consciously chosen, is often the path that leads to true strength and accomplishment. The modern world often tempts us with convenience. We have instant gratification at our fingertips. We can have food delivered, entertainment streamed, and information accessed with a few clicks. This culture of ease, while offering undeniable benefits, can also erode our capacity to endure difficulty. We become accustomed to smooth sailing, and when the inevitable storms of life arrive, we can be ill-equipped to handle them. The Stoics, however, saw hardship not as something to be avoided, but as an opportunity. They advocated for the voluntary embrace of difficulty. This isn't about seeking out unnecessary pain or danger. It's about recognizing that growth happens at the edge of our comfort zone. When we consistently choose the easiest option, the easiest explanation, the easiest solution, the easiest way to spend our time, we stagnate. We might feel comfortable in the short term, but we are not building resilience, character, or true competence. We are, in essence, opting for a life of shrinking potential. Think of a sprinter. They don't train by jogging leisurely. They push themselves to their absolute limits, enduring the burning in their muscles and the gasp for air, because they know that this is how they build speed and power. If they only ever chose the easier path of light jogging, they would never achieve peak performance. Similarly, if we consistently choose the path of least resistance in our daily lives, we stunt our own development. The Stoics practiced something called negative visualization, which involves contemplating not only potential difficulties, but also the loss of things we currently enjoy. While this might sound bleak, its purpose is to foster a greater appreciation for what we have and to prepare us mentally for potential hardship. It's a way of saying, what if this easy path wasn't always available to me? By consciously imagining a future where things are harder, we can build gratitude for the present and a stronger resolve to tackle current challenges. Choosing the harder path also cultivates a powerful sense of self-reliance. When you know you can depend on yourself to face difficulty, to push through discomfort, and to find a way forward, you develop a deep wellspring of confidence. This confidence isn't based on external validation or success, but on the internal knowledge that you possess the character to handle what comes your way. This might manifest in small ways daily. Instead of taking the elevator, you take the stairs. Instead of ordering takeout, you prepare a healthy meal. Instead of scrolling mindlessly, you read a challenging book. Instead of avoiding a difficult conversation, you initiate it with courage. Each of these deliberate choices to embrace a slight discomfort or extra effort is a small act of defiance against the tide of ease. It's a conscious decision to build strength, not to avoid challenge. Furthermore, choosing the harder path often aligns with our deeper values. The easy path might be to cut corners, to be dishonest, or to prioritize immediate pleasure over long-term well-being. The harder path is to act with integrity, to be diligent, and to pursue excellence even when it's difficult. By consciously choosing to walk the path aligned with our highest values, we build a life of meaning and purpose. The crucial element here is the on-purpose part. This isn't about suffering needlessly. It's about making intentional choices to engage with challenges that will strengthen us. It's about understanding that comfort is often a poor teacher, and that true learning and growth come from confronting and overcoming obstacles. When we deliberately choose the harder path, we are not just completing a task. We are forging our character, building resilience, and proving to ourselves that we are capable of more than we might have imagined. And in choosing to build ourselves through challenge, we start to become acutely aware of how much of our most valuable resource is being quietly drained away. The clock ticks relentlessly. Each second slips into the past, irretrievable. You might be sitting still, but time is a river, constantly flowing, carrying away moments that will never return. Yet how often do we treat this most precious and finite resource with the care it deserves? We fritter it away on distractions, on low-value activities, on waiting for inspiration, waiting for the right moment, waiting for something to happen. In a world brimming with stimuli, our time is constantly under siege, often stolen by ourselves and by external forces we allow to dictate our focus. The Stoics viewed time with a profound sense of urgency and respect. They understood that our natural lifespan is fleeting and that the time we have is all we truly possess. Seneca, in his letters, often spoke about how busy people are the ones who complain about having no time, yet they are often the ones who waste it most egregiously. They are occupied, yes, but with things that are ultimately trivial or unproductive. They are busy being busy rather than being productive. Think of a powerful current in a river. If you try to swim directly against it, you expend immense energy and make little progress. If you try to float aimlessly, you are carried wherever the current dictates. The skillful swimmer, however, understands the current. They use it, they navigate it, and they direct their energy efficiently to reach their destination. Our modern world presents a powerful current of distractions, notifications, endless entertainment options, social pressures that can easily sweep us away if we are not actively directing our own energy. This stealing of time isn't always malicious. Often, it's the cumulative effect of small, seemingly innocuous choices. The 5 minutes spent checking social media, which turns into 30. The hours spent watching a show you don't particularly enjoy, but started out of habit. The decision to wait for motivation instead of simply starting the task at hand. Each of these moments seems small in isolation, but when accumulated over days, weeks, and years, they represent a significant portion of our lives, lost and irretrievable. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "Do not seek for things to happen that you think should happen. Instead, see the event that is happening, and then you can guide it." Applied to time, this means recognizing what is actually happening with your time, where it's going, how it's being spent, rather than wishing it was spent differently or waiting for a perfect moment to reclaim it. It's about present moment awareness applied to our most valuable commodity. This requires a conscious effort to identify the value drainers in your life. What activities consistently yield little return for the time invested? What distractions pull you away from your important work or your meaningful pursuits? Once identified, the next step is to actively guard your time against these intrusions. This might involve turning off notifications, setting strict limits for certain activities, or learning to say no to requests that do not align with your priorities. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of focusing on what is within your control. While you cannot add more hours to the day, you can control how effectively you use the hours you have. This means making deliberate choices about how you allocate your time, aligning your actions with your priorities and your values. It's about treating your time as a sacred resource to be invested wisely rather than squandered carelessly. The ultimate consequence of allowing your time to be stolen is regret. It's the realization, too late, that you had the potential for significant achievement, for deep learning, for enriching experiences, but you let it slip away through inattention and passive acceptance of distraction. The Stoic path is one of active stewardship of one's time, recognizing that each moment is an opportunity to either invest in your well-being and your goals, or to let it be pilfered away. And in understanding that our time is finite, we must also understand the powerful forces that shape how we ultimately use it, our habits. Look around you. What do you see? The furniture, the room, perhaps the view outside your window. But beneath the surface, the true architecture of your life is built not from brick and mortar, but from the invisible, relentless force of your habits. The way you wake up, the food you eat, the thoughts you entertain, the tasks you tackle, the way you interact with others, these are not random occurrences. They are the predictable outputs of a system of habits, both good and bad, that you have built consciously or unconsciously over time. This is a hard truth, but a liberating one. You are not defined by your aspirations, your potential, or your occasional bursts of good intention. You are defined by your habits. They are the consistent, repeated actions that over time compound and shape your character, your health, your relationships, and your accomplishments. If you want to know what a person is truly like, observe their habits. They are the purest expression of who we are, day in and day out. The Stoics, with their focus on virtue and self-discipline, would have recognized the immense power of habits. They understood that virtue is not a state achieved once and for all, but a practice, a discipline, and practices are built through habits. The habit of rational thought, the habit of checking your judgments, the habit of facing discomfort. These are the building blocks of Stoic living. Think of a sculptor. They don't just chip away randomly at a block of marble and hope a masterpiece emerges. They have a vision, yes, but their skill lies in the precise, repeated strokes of the chisel, the careful removal of excess to reveal the form within. Habits are the chisels of your life, and each habit is a stroke that shapes the raw material of your existence into the person you are becoming. The trap many fall into is believing that they need to feel motivated to perform a certain action. They wait for the right feeling before they practice their habit. But the Stoic perspective, and indeed the wisdom of habit formation, teaches us that the action often precedes the feeling. You don't necessarily feel like exercising, but if you have the habit of putting on your running shoes at 6 a.m., you do it. And often, the feeling of accomplishment, energy, or clarity follows the action itself. Consider the compounding effect. A habit might seem small and insignificant in the moment. Eating one extra cookie might not seem like much, but if that's a daily habit compounded over a year, it results in a significant change in your physical health. Similarly, reading for 20 minutes a day compounds into a vast amount of knowledge over years. The Stoics emphasized the importance of small, consistent actions leading to significant long-term outcomes. They understood that true progress is incremental, built on the bedrock of daily practice. This also means that negative habits are equally powerful in their compounding effect. The habit of complaining, the habit of procrastination, the habit of negative self-talk, these also shape you. They build mental pathways that become increasingly strong and difficult to break. To change who you are, you must change your habits. You cannot achieve a different life by continuing to live in the same habitual way. The key insight here is that habits are not destiny. They are built, and therefore they can be rebuilt. It takes conscious effort, patience, and the understanding that changing a habit is a process, not an event. Start small. Identify one habit you want to cultivate and one you want to break. Focus on consistency over intensity. Make the desired habit easy to start and the undesired habit difficult to perform. The Stoics would advise us to view ourselves as a garden that we are tending. The habits are the seeds we sow, the watering we give, the weeds we pull. What we consistently nurture is what will grow and flourish. By consciously choosing and cultivating positive habits, we are actively shaping ourselves into the kind of people we aspire to be. We are, in essence, becoming the architects of our own character. And in this process of building ourselves, we inevitably encounter external forces that seek to sway us, forces that often masquerade as opportunity, but are, in fact, something far more detrimental. The alarm blares. You want to roll over, to pull the covers tighter, to escape the encroaching demands of the day. but a small voice, a whisper of past intention, reminds you of your goal. You need to get up. You need to go for that run. You need to do this work. You might try to muster up some motivation, to conjure a feeling of eagerness, but it's nowhere to be found. So you stay put. You wait for the feeling to arrive, and often it never does. We are constantly bombarded with messages that tell us motivation is the key to success. Follow your passion, do what you love, get motivated, and then you can achieve anything. This narrative, while appealing, is fundamentally flawed. Motivation is a fickle, unreliable companion. It's a feeling, a transient state that arises and dissipates without warning. Relying on it is like trying to build a sturdy house on shifting sand. The Stoics understood that true progress and virtue come not from waiting for the right feeling, but from disciplined action. They would have seen the quest for motivation as a distraction, a convenient excuse for inaction. They would argue that the power lies not in asterisk feeling like doing something, but in asterisk doing it, regardless of how you feel. This simple distinction is the bedrock of resilience and achievement. Think of a craftsman building a table. They don't wait until they feel inspired by the wood or electrically charged by the idea of a table. They have a plan, they have tools, and they get to work. The inspiration, the satisfaction, the feeling of achievement often comes asterisk after the work is done, as a result of the effort expended, not as a prerequisite for it. If the carpenter waited for motivation, the table would never be built. This is why habits are so crucial, as we discussed. Habits are actions that have been removed from the dependency on motivation. They become automatic. The decision to act, once ingrained, bypasses the need to conjure a feeling. The habit itself becomes the trigger for the action. The alarm rings, the habit of getting up kicks in, and the motivation to run might appear halfway through the run, or perhaps not at all. The important thing is that the action occurred. The Stoics would say that the true power lies in your asterisk will asterisk, not in your asterisk feelings. Motivation is a feeling. The will is your faculty of choice, your capacity to direct your actions. When you are faced with a task that requires effort, you have a choice. You can indulge in the feeling of low motivation and refrain from acting, or you can exercise your will, make the decision to act, and proceed regardless of how you feel. The constant pursuit of motivation can become a form of procrastination itself. We tell ourselves, "I'm just not motivated enough yet," or "I need to feel inspired." This allows us to delay the uncomfortable work, to remain in our comfort zone. The Stoic approach is to recognize that the path to achievement is paved with actions taken in the absence of ideal feelings. It's about showing up, doing the work, and trusting that momentum and internal rewards will follow. This doesn't mean suppressing genuine emotions. It means not allowing the asterisk absence of a specific emotion, like motivation, to dictate your actions. Your ability to choose your response, to commit to your goals through sheer force of will and discipline, is far more powerful and reliable than any fleeting feeling. The focus shifts from chasing an internal state to acting on a commitment. And this ability to act, even when fear or doubt are present, is a crucial step towards developing true fortitude. But how do you bridge the gap between knowing you should act and actually asterisk doing it when fear grips you? It's not through more thinking. The situation demands action. A colleague is being unfairly criticized. An opportunity for growth requires you to speak up. A personal boundary needs to be asserted. You know rationally what needs to be done. You understand the principles of fairness, of assertiveness, of self-respect. Your mind can churn through all the logical arguments for why you should asterisk act. Yet, when the moment arrives, a cold dread washes over you. Your voice catches in your throat, your hands tremble, and you remain silent, inert, trapped by an invisible force. You can think about courage, analyze courage, understand the definition of courage, but you cannot, it seems, will asterisk yourself to be courageous. This is the fundamental limitation of relying solely on intellect to overcome fear. Courage is not a cognitive understanding, it is a practice. It is the application of will in the face of fear, discomfort, or adversity. You can read every book on courage ever written. You can debate its philosophical nuances for hours. But until you act in a way that is fearful yet purposeful, you have not performed an act of courage. The Stoics understood this fundamental truth. Courage is not a thought, but an action. Think of learning to swim. You can read books about buoyancy, about stroke techniques, about water displacement. You can understand the physics of it all. But until you actually get into the water and begin to swim, struggling, splashing, perhaps even panicking a little, you are not a swimmer. The act of being in the water, of making your body move through it, despite the inherent fear of drowning, is what makes you a swimmer. Courage operates in the same way. The fear is the real obstacle, not your understanding of it. When you are feeling fear, your rational mind can be overridden by your primal, emotional responses. The logical part of your brain might be saying, "This is irrational, the chances of harm are minimal." But the amygdala, the brain's fear center, is shouting, "Danger." Retreat, thinking your way out of this emotional hijack, is often ineffective because the emotional response bypasses rational thought. The Stoic solution is not to try and eliminate fear through reasoning, but to act despite it. It's about taking deliberate, small steps into situations that evoke fear and doing so repeatedly. Each time you act in a way that is fearful yet aligned with your values, you are building your capacity for courage. You are essentially training your brain and your body to understand that the fear does not have to be the final deciding factor. Consider someone who has a fear of public speaking. They can rationalize all day about how the audience is friendly, how their material is strong, how their voice won't actually shake. But until they stand up, open their mouth, and speak, even with a trembling voice, they haven't confronted the fear. The act of speaking, however imperfectly, begins the process of desensitization and builds courage for next time. The clarity comes not from the thought that they can speak, but from the action of speaking itself. This means that when faced with a fearful situation where action is required, the most effective approach is to take a small, concrete step toward that action. Don't try to convince yourself you aren't afraid. Instead, acknowledge the fear and then decide, what is one small thing I can do right now that moves me in the direction of my fearful goal? Perhaps it's simply walking into the room where you need to speak or making the first sentence of your difficult phone call. Each tiny action is a victory over fear, a building block of courage. This repeated practice is how you cultivate courage, not by thinking about it. It is through confronting small fears that you build the inner strength to confront larger ones. You learn that the anticipated consequences of your fearful actions are rarely as dire as your imagination suggests, and that the rewards of acting, whether it's a sense of accomplishment, a clearer conscience, or a stronger sense of self, are profound. And in this process of building our inner strength, we often simplify our approach to the tasks themselves, recognizing a fundamental principle of execution. You're staring at the mountain. It's immense, its peak lost in the clouds. The sheer scale of it can be overwhelming. You think about the days of climbing, the blisters, the exhaustion, the potential for failure. The task itself, ascending the mountain, seems impossibly complex and daunting. It's easy to get lost in the enormity of the undertaking and feel paralyzed by the perceived difficulty. But then, you look at your boots, you check your pack, and you take that first step onto the trail. Suddenly, the task shifts. It's not about conquering the entire mountain at once. It's about navigating the next 10 yards, then the next 10, then the next. This is the crucial Stoic insight. The task itself is often simple, but it is not easy. The difference is profound. Simple refers to the nature of the action. It can be broken down into fundamental components. Easy refers to the level of effort or comfort required. A simple task might be to breathe, but doing so when you've been exercising intensely is not easy. Learning a language involves simple actions like memorizing words and forming sentences, but the cumulative effort makes it a challenging endeavor. When we perceive a task as difficult rather than simple but not easy, we create a mental barrier. We tell ourselves, "This is too hard for me," or "I don't have what it takes." This difficulty is often a subjective interpretation, amplified by our focus on the daunting outcome rather than the manageable steps. By reframing it, by seeing the task as a collection of simple actions that require sustained effort, we make it approachable. Think of writing a book. The task of writing a book seems monumental. But if you break it down, it becomes simple. Write one word, then another. Write one sentence, then another. Write one paragraph, then another. The task is simple, putting words on a page. It is not easy. It requires focus, effort, creativity, and perseverance. But by approaching it as a series of simple actions, the overwhelming complexity dissolves. The Stoics emphasized focusing on your immediate duty, your present action. They understood that the future outcome is uncertain and beyond your complete control, but the action right in front of you is within your grasp. By focusing on the simplicity of the immediate next step, you can engage with it fully without being crushed by the weight of the whole. This is how you build momentum. Consider a complex mathematical proof. The overall structure might be intimidating, but each step in the proof is a simple logical deduction. Each step relies on previously established truths or axioms. The difficulty lies in the sustained attention required to follow the chain of logic and the cumulative effort of performing each simple step correctly. This perspective helps combat procrastination and overwhelm. When faced with a daunting task, instead of thinking, "This is too hard," ask yourself, "What is the simple next action I need to take?" Focus all your energy on performing that one simple action as well as you can. Then identify the next simple action. This incremental approach makes even the most overwhelming tasks manageable and achievable. It's about respecting the effort required, acknowledging that it won't be easy, but trusting in the simplicity of the individual components. This steady, focused approach is the hallmark of true mastery. It's about consistent execution rather than waiting for inspiration or for the difficulty to magically disappear. By embracing the simple, not easy mindset, we can approach any task with a clearer head and a more determined spirit, knowing that progress is made one simple step at a time. And in this process of diligent work, it's easy to fall into a common trap that undermines our own efforts: comparison. You scroll through your feed, perfect lives, perfect bodies, perfect vacations, perfect achievements. A tiny seed of discontent sprouts in your chest. Suddenly, your own life, with its ordinary moments and unvarnished realities, feels inadequate. Their success highlights your perceived shortcomings. Their happiness seems to underscore your own struggles. This constant, insidious comparison is a modern epidemic, a guaranteed route to dissatisfaction and unhappiness. For the Stoics, it was a fundamental error in judgment, a self-inflicted torture. The core problem with comparison is that it's almost always incomplete and distorted. We compare our messy, behind-the-scenes reality with the carefully curated highlight reels of others. We don't see their doubts, their struggles, their failures, their own moments of self-pity or envy. We see only the polished facade, and we judge ourselves against an illusion. This is fundamentally unfair to ourselves, and it distracts us from our own unique path. The Stoics would argue that each person has their own journey, their own set of challenges, their own unique virtues to cultivate. Your path is not mine, and mine is not yours. Trying to measure your progress against someone else's is like trying to compare the growth of an oak tree to that of a rose bush. They both have inherent beauty and purpose, but they develop in entirely different ways, in different seasons, and in different environments. The focus of Stoicism is on internal progress, on becoming a better version of yourself. This is a deeply personal undertaking. It involves looking inward, assessing your own actions, judgments, and character, and striving for improvement based on your own internal standards of virtue. When you are constantly looking outward, comparing yourself to others, you are diverting your attention and energy away from this crucial inward work. You are outsourcing your self-worth to external benchmarks that are often unreachable or, at best, irrelevant to your own development. Think of it this way: if you are walking a specific path towards a destination and you constantly stop to look at other people's paths, trying to gauge if they are walking faster or slower, if their path is more scenic, or if they are carrying their load better, you will inevitably stumble, fall behind, or even get lost. Your focus should be on your own path, your own steps. This doesn't mean you can't be inspired by others. Inspiration is a positive force. It's when inspiration morphs into comparison and envy that it becomes destructive. Inspiration says, "That's amazing, perhaps I can learn from them." Comparison fueled by envy says, "Why do they have that and I don't? They must be better than me." The Stoic remedy is to rigorously apply the dichotomy of control. The achievements, possessions, and reputations of others are external to you. They are not within your power to influence or attain directly. Your focus should be on what is asterisk within your power. Your own choices, your own efforts, your own character development. Are you living up to your own standards of virtue? Are you putting in the effort you know you should? These are the questions that matter. When you catch yourself falling into the trap of comparison, consciously redirect your attention. Ask yourself, what is my own goal right now? What is the next step I need to take on my path? Then, commit to that action with all your energy. See yourself as an individual on your own unique journey, striving for personal excellence, rather than a contender in a race against everyone else. The true measure of your success is the progress you make from who you were yesterday. And in this pursuit of our own path, we must be wary of external forces that try to derail us, and perhaps the biggest liar of all is fortune itself. The lottery numbers are drawn, your ticket is a winner. Suddenly, life transforms. Financial worries vanish, opportunities appear, and a sense of effortless success washes over you. Or perhaps the opposite occurs. A sudden accident, a market crash, a betrayal, and your carefully constructed reality crumbles, leaving you adrift in a sea of misfortune. We often attribute these extreme shifts in our lives to fortune, luck, or fate. We see external circumstances as the dominant force shaping our destiny, and we either revel in good fortune or despair at bad. The Stoics, however, saw this reliance on fortune as a dangerous delusion. The Stoic philosophy teaches us to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. Fortune, by its very nature, falls squarely into the category of things outside our control. It's the external world's capricious hand. To build your life, your happiness, and your sense of self-worth upon the shifting sands of fortune is to build on a foundation destined to crumble. Fortune is unreliable precisely because it is not governed by reason, virtue, or any consistent principle that we can depend on. When we attribute our successes solely to good fortune, we weaken our own sense of agency and accomplishment. We fail to recognize the role our own choices, efforts, and character played. "I just got lucky" is not a statement of fact. It's an abdication of personal responsibility and a failure to acknowledge your own contributions. Similarly, when we attribute our failures to bad fortune, we absolve ourselves of the responsibility to learn, adapt, and overcome. We become passive recipients of fate, rather than active agents shaping our lives. Think of a ship. The wind in the sails is a form of fortune. It can propel the ship forward rapidly or leave it becalmed. But the captain's skill lies not in controlling the wind, but in skillfully adjusting the sails and the rudder to navigate whatever conditions arise. A skilled captain can make good use of a favorable wind, or they can steer effectively through storms, relying on their own competence, not the whims of the weather. Many people, however, are like sailors who blame the wind for their lack of progress or despair when a storm hits, forgetting that their own skill and decisions are the primary determinants of their voyage's success. The Stoics believed that true well-being, or eudaimonia, comes from living in accordance with virtue and reason, not from favorable external circumstances. While fortune might bring material comfort or fleeting pleasures, it cannot grant lasting happiness or internal peace. These qualities are cultivated from within through disciplined thought and action, regardless of external fortune. A virtuous person facing misfortune can still find purpose and maintain their inner equanimity because their foundation is not dependent on luck. The danger of believing in good fortune is that it can breed complacency. If success is merely luck, why strive? Why put in the hard work? The belief that fortune will provide can lull people into a state of passivity. Conversely, the belief in bad fortune can foster despair and resignation. It convinces people that there is no point in trying, that fate is against them, and that they are destined to fail. Both perspectives are equally detrimental because they remove your power and place it in the hands of an unreliable, impersonal force. The Stoic path is to acknowledge that external events happen, both pleasant and unpleasant, and to meet them with equanimity. Your response to fortune, whether good or bad, is what truly matters. If your business thrives, acknowledge the effort you put in, the sound decisions you made, and the skills you applied. If it falters, analyze what went wrong, what you could have controlled, and what lessons you can glean rather than simply blaming bad luck. This focused, internal approach builds resilience and genuine self-reliance, independent of the fickle hand of fate. And in this focus on our internal state, we discover a powerful tool for navigating the external world. The weight of attachment can feel crushing. You cling to possessions, to relationships, to outcomes, to ideas, fearing their loss as if it were the loss of your very self. You invest so much of your emotional energy in holding onto things, in controlling outcomes, in ensuring that everything remains exactly as you wish it to be. But the nature of existence is change. Everything is in flux. And attachment, the desperate clinging to the transient, is the root of much of our suffering. The Stoics offered a powerful antidote: detachment. Detachment, in the Stoic sense, is not about becoming cold, indifferent, or unfeeling. It is not about rejecting love, relationships, or the appreciation of beauty. Rather, it is about recognizing the impermanent nature of all external things and choosing not to let your happiness, your sense of self, or your inner peace be entirely dependent on their presence or their continued state. It is freedom from the anxiety and pain that inevitably arise when we cling too tightly to what is not truly ours to possess forever. Think of a child holding a precious toy. They clutch it tightly, afraid to let go, terrified that it might be lost or broken. Their joy is fragile, constantly threatened by the possibility of loss. Now imagine a discerning collector who appreciates a rare artifact but understands it is a temporary steward of its beauty. They enjoy it, they learn from it, but they are not devastated if it is moved or damaged or even lost. Their appreciation is deep, but their attachment is not ruinous. The Stoics understood that all external things, from material possessions to the very relationships we cherish, are ultimately loaned to us by nature. We enjoy them for a time, but they are not ours to keep indefinitely. To attach your happiness to them is to build your life on a foundation that is guaranteed to shift. When you practice detachment, you can love deeply, appreciate fully, and engage with the world enthusiastically without the crippling fear of loss. You can enjoy the present moment and the people in it, knowing that their presence is a gift to be cherished, not a possession to be guarded with anxious possessiveness. This applies to outcomes as well. We often attach ourselves to specific results, a promotion, a successful project, a particular relationship outcome. We believe our happiness depends on achieving these specific outcomes. When they don't materialize, or when they turn out differently than we hoped, we are devastated. Detachment means focusing on your effort and your intention, acting with virtue and reason, and then accepting whatever outcome nature delivers. It means understanding that while you can control your actions, you cannot control the results. Your well-being is not contingent on the outcome, but on the quality of your engagement with the process. The freedom that detachment offers is immense. It frees you from the constant anxiety of potential loss. It frees you from the frustration of unmet expectations. It frees you from the pain of disappointment when things inevitably change. When you are detached from outcomes, you are free to act with courage and integrity, knowing that your value is not tied to whether you win or lose in the external sense. Your value is in your character, your actions, and your adherence to virtue. This practice of detachment is not easy. It requires a constant recalibration of our minds, a deliberate effort to loosen our grip on that which is transient. When you feel yourself becoming overly attached to something, a person, a possession, a hoped-for outcome, pause. Remind yourself of its impermanent nature. Appreciate it for what it is in this moment, but release the anxious need to control its future. By cultivating this internal freedom from external dependency, you can navigate life with greater peace and resilience. And in this search for internal peace, we arrive at a profound realization about our obligations, or rather, our non-obligations to others. The world feels unfair. You've worked hard, you've been diligent, you've acted with integrity, yet others seem to achieve success with what appears to be minimal effort, or perhaps they receive opportunities that you feel you deserve more. A sense of entitlement can creep in, a quiet resentment that the universe or the people around you are not recognizing your merit, not compensating you appropriately, not acknowledging your inherent worth. You feel that someone, somewhere, owes you something. The Stoics would offer a bracingly clear perspective: no one owes you anything. This is a challenging concept to accept, especially in a society that often emphasizes rights and entitlements. But the Stoic view is that your worth, your happiness, and your progress are your own responsibility. You are not owed a specific outcome, a particular recognition, or favorable treatment simply by virtue of your existence or your efforts. To expect otherwise is to place your well-being in the hands of others who have their own lives, their own priorities, and their own choices to make. Think of a plant. It needs sunlight, water, and good soil to grow. It does not owe the sun its photons, nor does the rain owe the plant its water. The plant simply receives these elements, uses what it can in accordance with its nature, and grows. It doesn't demand more, nor does it resent if the conditions are not perfect. Similarly, the world provides the circumstances, the raw materials, and the opportunities. What you do with them is entirely up to you. When you adopt the mindset that no one owes me anything, you shift from a position of passive expectation to active agency. You stop waiting for external validation or for others to clear your path. Instead, you focus on what you can control: your own effort, your own attitude, your own contributions. If you want recognition, you work to earn it through your actions and character. If you seek opportunity, you create it through diligence and perseverance. Your own virtue and your own efforts are your true compensation. This perspective doesn't negate the importance of fairness or ethical treatment. It simply places the responsibility for your well-being squarely on your own shoulders. It means that even if others are unfair, if opportunities are scarce, or if you don't receive the recognition you believe you deserve, you still have the power to act virtuously, to maintain your integrity, and to find fulfillment in your own efforts. Your happiness is not dependent on others fulfilling some imagined obligation to you. Consider the Stoic concept of virtue as the only true good. External things like wealth, reputation, or even the favorable actions of others are indifferent. They can be used virtuously or unvirtuously, but they do not inherently add to or subtract from your true worth as a moral agent. If you are living virtuously, you are already achieving the highest good, regardless of what the external world provides or withholds. When you truly internalize the idea that no one owes you anything, you become liberated from resentment and bitterness. You stop feeling wronged by the world. You can then approach interactions with others with a sense of generosity and focus on what you can contribute, rather than what you expect to receive. This mindset fosters resilience, promotes self-reliance, and allows for genuine gratitude when support or kindness is offered. recognizing it as a gift, not a debt being repaid. And in recognizing the gifts that life offers, even in small ways, we discover a powerful survival strategy. The weight of your worries can feel immense. The challenges seem insurmountable. The future appears uncertain. In moments like these, it's easy to become consumed by what is wrong, what is missing, what is difficult. Your focus narrows, fixated on the problems. But imagine, for a moment, shifting your perspective. Imagine consciously seeking out the things that are going well, the small blessings, the aspects of your life that, even in hardship, are sources of good. This is the essence of gratitude, and the Stoics recognized it as a vital survival strategy. Gratitude, at its core, is the practice of acknowledging and appreciating the good things in your life, both large and small. It is a deliberate act of turning your attention towards what you have, rather than what you lack. In a world that often emphasizes striving, achieving, and acquiring, the simple act of appreciating can feel almost countercultural. But for the Stoics, it was a cornerstone of a well-lived life, a powerful tool for navigating difficulty and maintaining inner peace. When you are immersed in challenges, your mind naturally gravitates towards the negative. It's an evolutionary predisposition designed to keep us safe from threats. However, this tendency, unchecked, can lead to a state of chronic dissatisfaction and despair, where the problems overshadow any positives. Practicing gratitude acts as an immediate countermeasure. By actively seeking out and appreciating the good, you rebalance your perspective. You remind yourself that even amidst hardship, there are still things to be thankful for, aspects of your life that are valuable and worthy of appreciation. This isn't about denying the existence of problems or pretending that difficulties don't matter. It's about choosing where to direct your mental energy. If your energy is solely focused on what's wrong, you become consumed by it. If you can also direct some of that energy towards what is right, towards what you have, you create a buffer against despair. You build a more resilient mindset. Consider someone facing a serious illness. The pain, fear, and disruption are very real. But if they can also find gratitude for a supportive family, for moments of relief from pain, for the ability to still appreciate simple pleasures like a sunny day or a warm meal, they are cultivating a powerful inner strength. This gratitude doesn't cure the illness, but it profoundly impacts their ability to cope, to maintain hope, and to find meaning even in suffering. It's a survival mechanism. The Stoics recognized that external circumstances are often beyond our control, but our response to them is not. Gratitude is a powerful tool for shaping that response. It shifts the focus from what we cannot control to what is already good and present in our lives. By appreciating what we have, we reduce the power that perceived lacks have over us. We become less susceptible to the corrosive effects of envy and dissatisfaction. This practice can be simple, keeping a gratitude journal, taking a moment each day to reflect on things you are thankful for, or expressing your appreciation to others. The key is consistency. The more you practice gratitude, the more natural it becomes, and the more potent its effects. It rewires your brain to look for the positive, to recognize the blessings that are always present, even in the most challenging times. It is a conscious choice to anchor yourself in appreciation, rather than drifting on the tides of complaint. And in this deliberate anchoring, we confront the ultimate reality that shapes all our perspectives, the finite nature of our own existence. The rain has finally stopped. The clouds are breaking, and a hesitant ray of sunlight pierces through, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the quiet air. There's a profound stillness now, a sense of peace after the storm. Yet beneath the surface, time continues its relentless march, each tick of the clock a silent reminder of our finite existence. We are all, in this very moment, living as if we're dying, because that is precisely what we are doing. Every breath taken is one less breath we will have. Every moment lived is one moment closer to the end. This inescapable truth, the Stoics argued, is not a cause for despair, but the ultimate catalyst for living a truly meaningful life. This concept, famously articulated by Seneca as memento mori, remember you must die, is not about morbid fascination with death. It's about using the awareness of our mortality to imbue our lives with purpose, urgency, and clarity. When we truly internalize the fact that our time is limited, that our opportunities are finite, the trivialities of daily life begin to fall away. The petty office politics, the fleeting social slights, the anxieties about what others think, they lose their grip. What remains is what truly matters: our actions, our character, our contributions, our relationships, and our pursuit of virtue. Think of a traveler with a limited supply of water in a vast desert. Every sip is precious. They cannot afford to waste it on frivolous actions or distractions. They must focus on their most important goal, reaching their destination safely. Similarly, when we understand that our time is our most precious, non-renewable resource, we begin to make different choices. We prioritize what is truly important. We invest our energy in activities that align with our values. We express our love and appreciation to those we care about, knowing that each moment with them is a gift. The urgency that memento mori instills is not a frantic, anxious urgency, but a calm, focused determination. It's the urgency of purpose. When you live with the awareness that your time is limited, you are less likely to procrastinate on important actions or conversations. You are more likely to speak your truth, to pursue your passions, and to make amends if necessary. You are less likely to postpone joy or gratitude. This awareness also helps us to accept the natural order of things. Birth, life, and death are all part of the same cycle. By confronting our mortality, we can come to terms with the impermanence of all things, including our own lives. This acceptance, paradoxically, can lead to a greater appreciation for life, for the present moment, and for the preciousness of each experience. Consider the profound impact this awareness can have on our perspective. When facing a difficult challenge, rather than succumbing to despair, one might ask, in the grand scheme of my limited time, how significant is this obstacle? What is the most virtuous way I can respond to it? This perspective can bring a sense of calm and proportion to even the most daunting situations. It allows us to detach from the immediate emotional turmoil and focus on our core principles and our ultimate goals. Living like you're dying is about living intentionally. It is about making conscious choices about how you spend your finite time and energy. It's about shedding the unnecessary, embracing the essential, and acting with purpose and integrity. The ultimate realization of our mortality is not a death sentence for living. It is the ultimate call to embrace life in its fullest, most meaningful, and most virtuous form. This deep consideration of our mortality brings us to the end of this particular journey through Stoic principles, but it also serves as a powerful reminder to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more insights into living a resilient and meaningful life. We'll see you in the next one.